This is Jablam Hockey with your hosts, Peter Bojarinoff and Paul Swinbeck. Welcome to Jablam Hockey. I'm your host, Peter Bojarinoff. You can follow me on Twitter at Russia98. And I'm with
Paul Zwambag. You can catch me at Zwambag, Z-W-A-M-B-A-G, on the Twitter sphere. Hello, everybody, and hello, Peter. I don't normally say hello to you. How's it going?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm not bad. Excited for the week.
Yeah, you are? Why? What's going on for this week?
I don't know. Just I've got a week off work, so I'm going to watch a lot of hockey. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Perfect. I want to say, and Paul as well, we want to thank our listeners, our family, our friends, everybody out there. We're on the front page of the sports page on iTunes, Paul.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. So cool.
It's really cool. Thank you guys. Thanks for helping us out. Keep helping us. You know, if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to us. iTunes is great. But again, our main page is on Podomatic, and we're still on now as well, Blueberry and Stitcher. Go out there, subscribe, rate, and review us, please.
Yeah, the reviews are going to be a big help, so make sure you do that. Please and thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Tell people what we have on our episodes. It's cool. We got some cool segments. I love talking about suspensions. Paul loves talking about his fantasy picks. We all have some great stuff that we like talking about. So put that out there. First, Paul, I emailed you, and I didn't want to finish, but I had a dream.
Okay.
I'm not trying to, it was Martin Luther King Day. I know the other day it's funny that this happened, but Paul, I had a dream. Let me explain to you a little bit what happened. I had a dream, obviously. I woke up and I remembered, this is what happened in the dream. Basically, I don't know what happened, but I was traveling. I was going really far into the States for some work or something. I ended up moving into some cool, huge mansion. I was like, where am I? And, it seemed like I was going there for work. And then for some reason, I had to get out of the mansion to find you in kind of like a garden area. And you came out of a huge stretch limo. So, like, I'm living in a huge mansion now. You're coming out of limos. I'm like, what is going on here? And you're setting up to do the podcast in the garden. I'm like, this is great. Like, we're really moving on up, Paul. We're doing our podcasts in front of a mansion, in this beautiful garden. And then who shows up? Golden Globe winner Jennifer Lawrence. She's our guest on our podcast.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, this is amazing that we have huge actors coming on our show to do it. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. And then I woke up. It's just like, wow.
Way to set the bar really high for our first guest. Oh, geez. Wow.
Yes. But me and Paul actually talked about this, and maybe this was going through my head because I'm going to be going on vacation soon. Paul's going to be taking some time off for his family coming. So we're going to have guests coming in on our show. So look forward to that, folks.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Trending now. John Scott fiasco. What do you think, Paul? What do you have to say about this?
The NHL really messed up, and I guess they're keeping him as the captain for the Arizona Coyotes. I feel really bad for the Arizona fans. Like, they technically don't have an Arizona Coyote represented in the All-Star game, and like, we're trying to build the fan base, and like, that's what kind of the All-Star game is all about, is the fans enjoying just fun hockey and people traveling to Nashville to see the game and the whole weekend experience, and they have nobody to even watch. They don't have like a Max Domi, they don't have an Oliver Ekman-Larsson or Shane Doan even. Like, they have so many guys that could have went, and now they're stuck with John Scott representing them, who isn't even an Arizona Coyote anymore. And it's just, the NHL really failed. Big fail on this one.
So I went out obviously on Twitter and I made a joke and I said, John Scott should be able to sue Wish and Merrick because they started this whole running gag.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people obviously hated me for it. They all thought I was a big idiot. Obviously, I guess they don't know I'm joking. But at the same time, I feel that at least they should be able to, somebody should be able to interview them and see them how they feel at least about the situation because of what's happened now because of it. It's awful because now, he ended up getting traded. He had to get demoted. He was pushed and shoved into this, awful situation. And obviously his wife's pregnant and all this, and it's ridiculous. It's pretty insane. We were talking about it a few days ago. We're like, is this episode going to be all about John Scott? Are we going to have John Scott episode 2?
Yeah,
So
no kidding. Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But again, it's the league. It's the league's fault, basically. I even said this ages ago. I think I was like almost a teenager or a university when I said these rules of voting players in are ridiculous. And now it's come to the forefront. It's been here for a couple of years now when they tried to vote the other guy, the other defensive defenseman. I can't remember his name right now. They tried to get him in the game, and it just fell apart. This time it actually worked. John Scott got voted in as a captain. And now, again, the league went about it wrong. They should have changed the rules a long time ago. Looks like they're going to have to do it, obviously, this summer. I was shocked that, we don't know how much the league was involved in terms of getting him demoted, maybe traded. That could have happened. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's digging pretty deep on conspiracies. I don't think that
Yeah.
the NHL has that big a pull on owners. The owners are millions and millions of dollars invested in this game, and I just don't think that would happen. And if it did, I really don't. I don't even want to think that it would happen. Like, it just would ruin the game for me. So I hope
Yeah.
it didn't happen, and I don't think it could happen. But if it did, I don't even want to
Because
know.
because we all know that the rule is that every team has to be represented, right? So
Yeah,
that could have been a thing where, like, oh, if this happens, then technically maybe he shouldn't be in the game then, So yeah, obviously it's same here. I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm still kind of glad that he's going. He is going to the game. It happened. People voted him in. Those people that voted him in, I'm not saying that they're wrong at all. This is their choice. But again, it would have been nicer if a real super skilled guy that deserves to be there that is not being able to go now. That sucks for that kind of guy, like a Domi or whoever would have been going as a Coyote.
yeah.
Um, as well, I lost my train of thought. But it's just, it sucks. It's a bad situation all around, and the league went about it the wrong way.
Well, and a lot of people are getting mad about John Scott now he's playing in the AHL, but I don't think they realized that he was already in the AHL before the trade happened. Like, when the
Yes,
voting
that's true.
started, he was in the NHL, and then the voting got going, and this whole
He was demoted a long
voting,
time ago.
yeah,
So
vote in John Scott, and then the Arizona Coyotes were like, oh, maybe they demoted him because he was getting votes, and they thought maybe
yeah,
that would fix it, but he was already in the AHL, so he got promoted to the NHL to get traded, and then now he's back in the AHL. So it didn't force him to be in the AHL. Like, he wasn't playing
yeah.
NHL minutes anyways. So it's
So you know what I want to happen, Paul. I want John Scott to use his skills in the All-Star game. If he's going, might as well do it, either in the skills comp, which would be hilarious, or in the actual 3-on-3 game. He should fight someone. Why not? A friendly fight.
yeah. I want to see what I want to see is him just dangle some people because there's a lot of those grinders that were really good in junior hockey.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was any good in junior. I know he went to Michigan Tech University, so I don't
Hmm.
think he played junior hockey. And yeah, what happens if he starts dangling guys? Like, there's not any defense played in these games, so who knows? He might even win hardest shot because there's probably guys in the league that have just as hard of a shot as Chara or Shea Weber that just don't go to
Yeah.
the All Star game, right? So who knows? He might win the hardest shot skills competition.
I hope something good happens for him there. I really do.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
or
That'd
at
be
least
pretty.
the Pacific wins and he makes a little
Hey,
bit of cash.
the captain, and he gets to hold. You know what? They should have an All-Star trophy then.
Well,
I'm just popped in my head
maybe they
since
will.
they're doing this format.
Maybe they will.
They should. They
I want
should.
to know if they're
All
going to
right,
have four different
go ahead.
colors in the All Star game, four different colored jerseys, or if they're going to be black and white. That's
I
what I want to know.
I believe that's what was rumored. That it's just two shades
Yeah,
and like yeah, dark and a light,
and
and that's it. And
that's
they're
what they're
just gonna
selling
mix
on.
match.
Yeah, that's what they're selling on NHL.com on their shop. So
Yeah, so
we
that's
spent
probably
a
what it
lot
is.
of time on All Stars again. This is the John Scott Part 2 episode.
Yes,
Ridiculous.
it is.
Yeah.
All right, so what was the trade ball?
The trade was John Scott. It was really weird how it came out because he was going to
It was a
Montreal.
three-way.
Yeah, but then
Yep.
it all was mixed, and so Victor Bartley went to Montreal, but he was from Nashville, correct?
Yes.
And then Jared Tenorti went from Montreal to Arizona, and John
Yep.
Scott, Arizona, went to Montreal.
Hmm.
And what did Nashville get out of it?
Oh, um, damn.
It
No,
was just another Montreal AHL player, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
yes.
they were all just AHL. Jared Tenorti was the only NHL minute guy. But it's crazy because all of them were on. They all cleared waivers at some point this year. Every single
Hmm.
player in the trade. Well, not Jared Tenorti. So he's the only like NHL viable player. So
Yes. There was Stefan Elliott, and Stefan Elliott went to the Preds, and Stefan Fournier ended up going to the Coyotes.
yeah,
So they were both down there.
yeah.
Down there, guys.
They've all cleared waivers. Like they could have easily been just claimed on waivers. So that's
Picked up
why.
anywhere at
And,
any time. Yeah.
and that's why this whole conspiracy is out because Montreal could have
Yeah.
easily got, if they wanted John Scott or Stephen Elliott, they could have easily, or not Stephen Elliott, but they could have easily have claimed these guys off the waivers. So that's why there's a huge conspiracy about it
Yeah.
all. So
Yeah.
it's just
All right. Well, yeah. Let's just move on.
yep.
Your Pens had a fairly big trade.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. It was like overnight Saturday. I woke up
Really
to it.
late.
Yeah, I woke up to it and was like, "Whoa, Hagelin, that's kind of cool." What do you think of it?
You know me. I'm a huge Braun fan, but for some reason, again, it wasn't working since Kessel's been on the team and Braun and the lineup. You know, it just wasn't working. So I think it's a cool thing for both teams. Hagelin gives the Pens some more speed on the wing, and Braun might fit well on the first or second line with the Ducks with his physical presence and the way they played the Anaheim game.
Yeah, and then they an additional Adam Clendenning, the guy that we got from
Yes.
Vancouver in the Benino and Brandon Sutter trade.
Yep.
We just ended up moving him to Anaheim, and yeah, Hagelin already looks awesome on Malkin and Kessel's wing. Like he's fast,
Yeah. He
and
really is.
he burnt us last year in the playoffs. He got the overtime series clincher against us, so
Yeah.
crazy to have him in our dressing room
It was.
now. But yeah,
It's funny that in the off season it was the Hagelin Edom trade, right?
yeah, I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
I think
And
so.
then both of them really haven't worked out at all for either team on the Rangers and the Ducks. And then basically within the same week, not even really that close to the trade deadline, they both get traded.
Yeah,
So Edom, I believe, went to the Canucks now, and Hagelin's on the Pens, and it could be a better fit for them. So it's kind of weird, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. With the Hodgson Kazian trade, but hey, Kazian scored for the Oilers, so
yeah,
hey,
first goal as an Oiler. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
really interesting
hey, you know what?
when a winger goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Because I'm a big fantasy guy. There's always big rumblings about pick up the newest Penguin player. There hasn't been much talk
Yeah,
about picking up Hagelin. Like it's just why not Hagelin? Like when Perron came to Pittsburgh
yeah,
from Edmonton, it was like, go get Perron. He's going to play with Crosby or Malkin. And there's no talk of going out and getting Hagelin or rushing to get Hagelin. So it's like, why not Hagelin? Like,
Yeah.
I don't really. Maybe because Perron never worked out, so they kind of think it's going to happen to the same thing. And I don't even know why Perron
I don't
didn't
know.
fit. Like he never really found his spot on the team. It just
Yeah.
didn't work
It
out.
just
And
didn't click.
I think Hagelin is really replacing Pascal Dupuis. He's going to
Yes,
bring
he is.
the Pascal Dupuis speed. So I'm hoping it works out. I think he's going to be fit great with Malkin and Kessel. So yeah,
Hopefully the best for both of them.
yeah,
But yeah, Hecklin hasn't had that great. It's been a pretty bad season for him so far.
yeah.
So that could be why fantasy picks,
But you can say that about
people haven't
all.
been picking
You
up
can
there
say
yet.
about that with all the Ducks, pretty much. No one's really putting
Yeah,
up big
that's
numbers.
true. All right, Cam Talbot re-signs with the Oilers for 3 years. It's basically a 4.1 mil cap hit. That's pretty wild, is it not?
Yeah, feel like maybe it's early. Like he hasn't had a full season of being a number one, and he lost it to Nilsson for a while. So
Yeah,
all of a
Nilsson
sudden, you're
was playing.
putting all
Yeah,
your trust in this guy for the next 3 years. So I don't know. I think it's a little jumping the gun, but
same here. I don't know. Nilsson was playing better. He really was, and Talbot had a lot of games where he just did not look good and looked lost. You could tell he has good goaltending skills, but now they're basically paying him like a top goalie. He's their number one. They've named him as their number one with that contract.
yeah,
So I don't know. It's just very peculiar in my opinion. But again, Oilers like to do peculiar things.
yeah, and I guess they're trying to lock in their goaltending situation because they've never really had decent goaltending, but this
Yeah.
kind of maybe is why it happens because they lock in too early. Like Devin Dubnyk, they lock like I don't know, they just
But again, that was more defense, and that's the main issue with the Oilers is they
yeah
do not have a good structure defensively, not great defensemen. I think the guys that they have, like, right now with Clefbaum and the others, they're pretty good. They have good pieces, but they don't have a number one or two really per se. Hopefully Nurse becomes one of them.
yeah
But I don't know. Ferentz is, he's slow now. Sekera, I still don't feel he's not a number one.
no
I don't even think he's a number two in my opinion.
no
So, it's the defense is lacking, and that's the big improvement. Hopefully, Talbot shores up in that area for them in goaltending, but I don't know. I think it's a little too early to be giving him that number one role technically with that contract.
yeah, and Justin Schultz has been pretty much a bust. Like he was such
Yeah,
a prized possession coming out of the NCAA as a unsigned guy, but he just
turnover machine.
yeah
Yeah,
he's not fun to watch.
yeah. Oh well. Hopefully he gets better. He does have some good legs in him, but oh
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
All right. I want to talk about it. Rules, coaches, challenges, the offside. It's just wrong. Everything about it just seems off. Okay, it's such a difficult and fast sport to call. I'm going to talk about this later again with suspensions as well. But oh man, these offsides, it's so minuscule, Paul. So minuscule. Now they're calling so many goals back because a guy is barely offside. The last 3 Leaf games now, 2 of them Babcock got called back, and then tonight now the Leafs got one called back. And they're fractions. They're fractions of a second. The first one, I can't remember who the Leafs played on Saturday or whatever, Friday. The guy's foot. Oh, it was Brad Marchand. His foot was off the ice. That's what it's so hard to see. It's so hard to zoom in. Maybe with the amazing 4K program that we're going to be getting, it'll be a little bit better visually. But how can you even tell that his foot is above? I didn't even know, and I think a lot of these analysts didn't even know that the foot actually has to be touching the actual ice surface for him to be onside. I thought it was just behind the blue line, and it has to be behind the blue line, touching the white surface. So hard to call. In my opinion, this whole thing started again with the whole Matt Duchene in the playoffs a couple years ago, and now they're calling it. It's so tough. And as well, they're taking too long to challenge, and they're waiting for the guy from upstairs to buzz them down, review it, and then use the challenge kind of thing. It's rough in my
Well,
opinion.
and they don't even like just get on with the play. Like the coach like gets looked at, and the referee's like, "Are you going to challenge?" And he kind of sits there and looks at him like, "Hmm,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll challenge now." And it's like, no, you should have to be like immediately be like, "I want to challenge it," like before they get reset to their face-off dot. Like the
yeah,
referee should have no say in looking at the coach and being like, "Do you want to do you want to challenge? Are you sure?
yes.
No? Yes? Okay, you
This
want to
is
challenge? Okay."
It's
Like,
ridiculous. It's almost as bad as the baseball challenges now at home plate and stuff. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, they're really slowing the game down. And
Ugh.
I really think coaches are now, instead of calling just a timeout,
Yeah,
they're gonna just challenge one of the goals, and it ends up being like a 4-minute timeout, and it's like, well, there goes all the momentum that a team either trying to come back or trying to build a deeper lead, momentum gets killed, like one way or the other. Like if you get scored on and you challenge it, even if you do score, the momentum's gone. Like,
yeah. They really got to fix it. They were, you know what they were saying? They were saying that they're going to do something during the All Star game with a certain blue line camera. I really hope this happens. That's been rumored. They're going to try to maybe use it then and hopefully be ready. Really hope this works because it needs to be fixed. I really hate, especially the one that happened again tonight. It happened a couple weeks ago where the puck is they're barely offside. The play continues. I said it was offside. Like I'm watching the play. Oh, that was offside. The play continues. 30 seconds later, there's a turnover here by the defensive team. The offensive team gets a chance. They miss it. The defensive team tries to get out. Another turnover, and then they score. That's like 35 seconds of action goes by, and the puck goes in. The offside barely has any meaning almost on the play, in my opinion.
yeah,
So,
it's
yeah,
gonna be a mess in the playoffs.
exactly.
Just a huge mess. Like,
If this happens near the end of the game in overtime, oh my God, Paul, it'll blow my mind if this happens in triple overtime.
well,
Blow my mind.
think about when like Patrick Kane scored his overtime goal, and he was the only one that saw it, and like
I
nobody
loved it.
knew
I
where the
saw it
puck
too.
went.
I was going nuts. I was
And
going
like
nuts. It's like, what happened?
if it's like Game 7, double
Oh
OT,
man.
and they score, and their coach ends up saying, "Excuse me, I want to challenge that." Like, these guys are throwing their mitts in the air, and you're like, "No, go pick up all your equipment." Like, that's what happens every time a Stanley Cup's won. Guys toss their gloves, their sticks go flying, their helmets are gone. Like, can you pick up all your equipment, please, so we can continue the game, because that was challenged and it was offside 7 minutes later. Like, it's going to be a mess. I'm not
Yeah.
looking forward to it. They need to. Why can't they like have conversations with the NFL officials and be like, "How do you guys do it? Let's learn from you guys." Like, the NFL's got it figured out. They have some really stupid rules. The catch rule is brutal, but they have their replays figured out. Stuff is pretty much everything's reviewable. There's some things that's not, and if you try to review it, you can say no. And why don't they have an off ice official that if you're
There should
watching
be.
the game and you see it is blatantly
Every game should have an
offside,
off. Yeah.
and he can
Every
call
game.
in, yeah, every game should have an off ice official that can blow the
Yeah.
whistle down and be like, no, that was blatantly offside. Let's just stop the play now before something happens.
Exactly. Stop in the play.
Yeah,
So, all right, let's move on. We've talked about that. It hopefully gets fixed before the playoffs. Oh,
yeah.
man, it'll be crazy. All right, Paul, what are your fantasy up and downs for the week?
All right, I got a couple of guys that are having real good last 6 to 8 games. Bo Horvat is only 9% owned. He's playing on the second line. He's gonna have to fill in for Henrik Sedin being out.
Yeah, that's right.
His 5-on-5 shooting percentage is 6.33. He's on pace for 33 points for the rest of the year. 10 points in the last 8 games, so he should be
Wow.
able to be picked up. Cause,
Think he can keep up the pace? I wasn't sure, and I actually needed more of a winger, and I ended up picking up Silverberg just because he shoots a lot more.
yeah, Silverberg is starting to turn it on too. Another guy, a winger, Carl Soderberg from Colorado. He's going to have a good rest of the year. So if you want a long-term guy that's going to not put up a lot of points right away, but overall going to put up a lot of points. He's on pace for 56 points on the year. So
Wow.
Carl Soderberg scoring 56 points, that's pretty impressive. He has
Yeah.
6 points in the last 6 games, so he's 29% owned. Vladislav Nemestikov playing with Steven Stamkos right now. He is
Yeah.
fitting with him big time. Stamkos has moved to the left wing. Nemesnikov is now taking that center role, which is
Oh, wow.
incredible. Yeah. So he's 27% owned. He's on pace for 45 points, 10 points in the last 6 games.
Mm, sounds
And
good.
a guy that is way too underowned. Somehow, I don't know how he's flying under the radar. I just tried to pick him up in pretty much all of my leagues that I was capable of picking him up. Andrei Burakovsky playing with Kuznetsov and Justin Williams. He's only
Yes.
2% owned. 2%.
What?
How
That's
is that
pretty crazy.
possible? He's playing with Kuznetsov, who's having a great year,
Yep.
and
He's
Jason
in the top,
Williams.
5 in points right now, I think, Kuznetsov.
He's fourth with 48 points.
He's killing it.
Yeah, he's not getting the Washington power play one time because that's going to Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Ovechkin.
Yeah.
But he's getting the second power play time. He's had 7 points in the last 5 games, and he's playing with a hot Kuznetsov. So ride the coattails of Kuznetsov with Burakovsky. He's only 2% owned. So go get those
Perfect.
guys. Down guys. These are guys that are heavily owned but not having a great run. Alex Galchenyuk hasn't scored in the last 6 games.
They need to do something about him because they keep on leaving him on the third line, though.
Yeah, he's not getting enough ice time. It's crazy. So if
Yep.
no ice time means no production. So
Yep.
Kyle Turris.
Especially when.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Especially when he's playing with wingers that aren't helping him out at all. He's
Yeah.
not playing with the top line guys. I'm surprised. Tarian is really, really screwing this whole lead that they had, but it's rough. We're going to be talking about the Canadians in near the end of the episode. But go ahead, Paul. Who's next?
Kyle Turris. He's 86% owned. I wouldn't drop him, but I definitely would be playing guys over him that would normally be benched. He hasn't scored in the last 4 games. He's got 2 points in the last 7 games. So he's gone ice cold. So beware of him. Couple back end guys. Markov, 2 assists in the last 9 games. And Francois Beauchemin hasn't scored a point in 6 games. So if those guys are out, I would be dropping Francois Beauchemin for sure. There's no reason.
Or as I like to call him, BS man.
BS man, yes.
Yeah.
So those are my fantasy ups and downs. So if you got any questions, feel free to contact me on Twitter or get a hold of us on Japlam Hockey on Facebook. Happy to help anyone.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, let's move on to injuries. There's quite a bit of big names out there. First, Henrik Sedin, he's gone till after the All-Star game.
Yeah, he's going to miss 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's going to be rough for the Canucks who are fighting for those wild card spots, basically.
Yeah, and Jared McCann is getting his ice time. He's going to be playing with Daniel Sedin, so the rookie's getting a good look right now.
Pretty interesting stuff. Who else? There's Mike Hoffman, I believe, for the Sens.
Yeah, he's day-to-day with an upper body injury. He smoked his head, neck into the post and went directly to the dressing room. There's no immediate update, but he is day-to-day, so keep an eye on that because he was having a pretty good year. So
yeah, I'm surprised more injuries don't happen when guys go straight into the post, and it happens like at least almost once or twice a game.
yeah.
So, wow. All right, the big ones, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, huge. He's out, 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah, with a hand injury for blocking a shot from a point guy. Like, these guys, there's a goalie back there for a reason. Like, that has the proper equipment. I can see putting, like, your shin pads in front, but, like, he basically squatted down and got his arms beside his legs to make an even bigger wall. And it's like, what do you expect to happen? Like, those gloves, you can get a slash across those gloves and it hurts. Like,
yeah,
these pucks are flying.
it's like It sounds like exactly like the Brad Marchand injury or
Yeah,
the Gallagher injury.
yeah,
Sorry.
Gallagher. Yeah, it's
Yes.
just silly. These guys, like, he's a first line guy. There's no reason why you should be throwing your every limb you can possibly find at a puck. Like, I don't like to see it. It really sucks. It takes a lot of good players out of the game.
Yeah. Oh, and then the Red Wings, some big holes to fill. Cronwall, he's out at least 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks looking. And the brother of Ryan Miller, Drew, 4 to 6 months. Ouch.
Yeah, reconstruction on his ACL and meniscus. Not
Oh,
good.
that's rough.
That might be career ending, which really is too bad.
Yeah, even if and when he comes back, that's gonna be tough. Skating and everything, it's gonna be really rough on him.
Yeah.
Those are huge holes for the Red Wings, and they're fighting. They're really fighting tooth and nail for those spots, and those other teams, like even depending on how far they go down, Tampa's right up there now, and they could steal one of the top three spots, and they might be fighting for a wild card spot now. And now the Penguins are slowly playing better. Philly's playing a lot better now, so it's going to be tough for the Red Wings.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough sled for the end of the year. And speaking of all these injuries, like man games lost, Edmonton sitting in second with
Yeah.
190 man games lost. First is Buffalo Sabres, 194.
And I told you before, I'm surprised how low the Sabres are. And you know what? If they didn't lose some of those guys, they would be a little bit higher up there, I believe.
Well, like their Robin Leonard was their number one goalie, and they lost
Yeah.
them. He just came back, so could have been a
Yeah.
world of difference. Like Linus Ulmark and Chad Johnson filled in pretty respectably, but
They were all right. Yeah. So.
and Detroit's fourth on that list of man games lost with 178.
Yeah, exactly.
They've had a rough go as well. So
Yeah. Datsuk out for so long. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, who's coming back, Paul?
All right, yeah. On a brighter note, David Krejci returned to practice on Monday. He didn't play Tuesday night, but he's been out since December 27th, so he's on the comeback. Michael Camilleri, did you see this today? He wants to be called. He requested the New Jersey broadcast, to call him Michael Camilleri. It's not Mike. It's Michael.
Oh.
Why do these players all of a sudden want to change how their names are said?
That's the first time I've heard of the whole first name thing. Usually it's the last name.
So,
Like,
Michael Camilleri returned to the lineup Tuesday.
Michael.
He had been out since December 30th, so that's good to see. That'll really boost the New Jersey offense. He definitely.
They've still been playing pretty well. I'm surprised they're up there. So
Yeah. And Sergei Bobrovsky returned to the Blue Jackets crease. He's been out since December
good for the
8th.
Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not going to be able to make a playoff spot. But good for him.
Well, speaking of Blue Jackets, Scott Hartnell was a healthy scratch today. So is he the next guy
yeah.
in Torts' doghouse?
Well, he came out and said after the game, "I'm sorry. He made a huge error with the penalties and the penalty at the end of the game." And that's Hartnell, though. What do you expect? He's going to give you those hard minutes. He's going to dig in front of that. He's going to work hard for you, but he's going to make foolish penalties too. So that's his game.
Yeah.
All right. Thing I love talking about is suspensions.
Here we go.
But Ryan White with the huge hit. I can't remember who it was already now. It's a couple of days ago, but Ryan White on the Flyers.
It was your buddy Luke Lind. No, it was Thomas Yurko.
Yes, Yurko.
Yeah.
Yurko on the Red Wings. Hey, blindside hit. Yurko just shot the puck, and milliseconds after, huge hit by Ryan White. Takes him out. Yurko's almost kind of woozy, but he basically gets up. Ryan White gets the game. 5-minute major, game misconduct. But no suspension.
The only thing I didn't like about the hit was he went upwards. As soon as he hit, he made contact and then threw his arms up in the air. And it's like, why not bury your elbow into your stomach and just drive your shoulder through the guy and just smoke him? Like, Scott Stevens used to be a great hitter. He had a lot of dirty hits too, but his were just huge hits because he just dropped the shoulder rather than lift his arms sky high. I don't get why these guys are trying to leap upwards into a hit. Like, just drive your shoulder through a guy. Like, if he would have kept his stick on the ice or his hands down or his elbow in his rib cage and just hit him solid, I think it would have been a perfectly fine hit. He wouldn't have got a game misconduct. I do like that he got a game misconduct. That's going to hurt teams more than giving suspensions after a game. Because if
Yes.
Ryan White gets a suspension, 2 game suspension after that hit, it doesn't affect the team. Like, oh,
Yeah.
we lost
What
Ryan White for
what
two
does it do
games,
for the Red Wings?
but it handicaps them for the rest of the game and a five
Yeah.
minute major. Like he's gonna be put in the coach's doghouse more for that than for a suspension.
Hmm.
Like suspensions, yeah, they lose money and stuff, but these guys make enough money that a couple $1,000s is not gonna learn the lesson. But if they get in the coach's doghouse, that's gonna start teaching these guys a lesson. So
Yeah.
I think they got to start throwing more 5 minute majors, throw them out of the game, teach these guys a lesson.
Yeah. In my opinion, again, it's a borderline hit. So hard to call. Momentum drives him to kind of launch himself a bit with the arms and everything. It's hard sometimes to keep your arms down the whole time through a hit when you're going through a guy's body too. So it's rough. And in my opinion, if he was even like a centimeter higher, it would have been a suspension. He
Yeah,
would have hit Turco Yurko more in the head, and he might have been more injured, but for sure he would have got a couple of games. And that's the difference now. And if he put his arm, say, slightly lower, maybe, and he would have still driven right through him, maybe he would have got no penalty at all. It's so hard to call. But again, if Yurko was on the ice and he was dead, like, not sorry for using the word dead, but lying there like he's dead on the ice, no doubt about it. If he's injured too, again, they're going to call that given the major in the game misconduct, but he's going to get games. If he was injured, he would have got games. Again, that's how thin the line is, and it's so hard to call these suspensions. So again, if this happened 5-6 years ago, that's labeled a clean hit in my opinion. That's how it was. So it's so tough to call these hits. It's ridiculous. uh, I feel bad for some of these players, but again, I guess they just have to stop almost hitting now.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
they
just
got.
stop leaping. Like stop jumping for hits. Like I don't
It's
know.
hard though, Paul, with the momentum and the speed that these guys go, and that's the thing. Then maybe they have to slow down on their hits, but players don't want to do that, right?
Yeah, and they're told by the coach to play all out. So that's how they
Yeah,
stay. That's how they keep their roster spots. I don't know. There's so much leniency to what is dirty, what is clean when they make
yeah,
these decisions that being a player, I have no idea what you're supposed to do. Like,
yeah. They were like he was shocked after when he's in the penalty box, and then they called him out of the penalty box to leave,
yeah,
right? Because he's expecting only maybe a 2 minute, some kind of maybe charge or whatever.
yeah,
So it's rough, and it's that thin line that nobody's able to really pinpoint,
yeah,
but that's what it is. All right, let's move on to the hottest team in the NHL. 12 straight wins, a franchise best. The Chicago Blackhawks are on fire, Paul. They're
yeah.
on fire.
And maybe by us bringing it up, we're gonna jinx them, like the Florida Panthers last week. We were talking about the Florida Panthers being like 10 straight, and then all of a sudden they
Yeah,
lost a couple, and now they've lost 3 in a row. So
the,
sorry,
the Panthers
Chicago.
were the hottest. Yeah, the Panthers were the hottest team in the NHL. That was the longest streak, and then now they've lost 4 or 5 games or whatever.
Yeah,
Now the Hawks are the hottest team, and we expected it. We expected it to happen. They were, middling in that like third spot in their division, and you could tell on paper and the way they were playing, they were really good. And that first line was just playing mediocre. They have that amazing first line with Tays and Hossa and Shaw. They weren't putting up the big. Again, Hossa was injured for a while too. Now they're there, and the team is just perfect. Again, earlier in the season, which was it, Seabrook or Keith was out for a long time
it was Keith that
too.
was out. Keith was out.
Keith,
Yeah,
and now they're all together. They're healthy. Crawford's having a Vesna caliber season as well. Nobody's talking about.
oh, it's sneaky good. Like he's just flying under the radar, and it's probably the way he wants it. Like
Yeah,
just keep quiet, keep putting up the numbers, keep putting up the wins, and yeah, he's having a great year.
man, it's crazy, crazy good. So, Paul, do you think what's your percentage right now if you would pinpoint it at the Hawks winning the cup this year? If you
Oh,
were to put a percentage on it.
they the cup is really hard to win and really hard to win back to
It
back.
is,
But
but it's the Hawks.
yeah, if they stay healthy, which you could say about a lot of teams, but if they stay healthy, like a 70% chance.
70% chance. You just said it's difficult, and now you're giving them a 70% chance to win the whole thing.
Well, they're good, man. Like
Yeah,
if Patrick Kane keeps playing the way he's playing, and Panarin doesn't slow down at all, Taves can shut down with Hossa. Like,
yeah. It's ridiculous. This team is layer by layer amazing.
yeah, they're so good.
I was gonna I was gonna put a realistic number. I was gonna put about a 40% chance to win the whole thing right now. Uh, if you were to put a number just right now, throwing it out there, the Capitals, what would your number be as a percentage for the Capitals to win the whole thing?
Uh, I've always said that.
They're number one. They're way above
I
everybody
know
too.
I've always said since the day that Sid and Ovi were compared from day
Yeah,
one, Ovechkin isn't ever going to win a cup. I've always said
yeah,
that, so I got to stick with it, and I don't think they have a very good chance. I just don't.
yeah,
So 10, 5%, 5%, real
yeah,
low.
yeah.
Like I just don't think Ovechkin can lead a team. As soon as they have diversity in the playoffs, they're his leadership is off. It's just I don't
Yeah.
think he can pick up a whole dressing room and get them
We'll
going.
see. I have them just slightly better. I was thinking about maybe a 20%,
Yeah.
maybe 15, 20. But we'll see. And then on the bottom of things, there are the Montreal Canadiens. December 14th, Paul, they were first in the Eastern Conference. Only about a month later, month and a couple of days, it's January 19th right now, as we're doing this podcast. They're sitting at 10th in the East. Wow.
Yeah. I got
I was telling you. Yeah, go ahead.
I got one better stat for you. December
Yeah,
2nd. Since December 2nd, the Montreal
yeah.
Canadiens have gained 9 points in the standings.
Only 9.
Number
Wow.
1, the number 1 team, the hottest team that we just talked about, has gained 37 points since December 2nd.
And again, to all the people that like to trash the Canadians and everything, there's more fuel to the fire because everybody says it's only because of Price they're this team. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. Basically, that's what they're showing right now is Price is this team, and there's almost nothing else. It's rough.
Well, that's their excuse that they're going to live
Yeah.
off of until Price does come back, and I don't think Price is going to make the team score. Like
Yeah,
they can't.
exactly, and that's what they've been lacking. And even in the playoffs last year, that's you couldn't blame Price or the defense. And I thought the defense was still pretty good in the playoffs. The offense just evaporates. Where is it?
Yeah, I
Like
where's Pacioretty? What happened to him? Like
Placanitz has been. I haven't. Is there a guy named Placanitz on this team? I don't
yeah.
know. I haven't seen him in almost a year and a half.
Yeah, they started so hot this year and just have fallen apart.
Yeah.
And can we consider Michel Therrien on the hot seat?
I told you about a week ago, or even 2 weeks ago, that I feel that he should be. Like I think Hab Nation, their fans, feel that he should have been let go ages ago, and you know what? He should be on the hot seat. You cannot put it all in the goaltender. He needs to find ways, even to eke out wins without Carey Price. They still have a good team. I don't feel that certain guys, even I think with Placanitz resigned, and in my opinion, that was a wrong error. He's a little bit past his prime in terms of scoring big numbers for them. So,
Yeah, and
I don't know.
they're trying to play him as a center one, and he's more of like a center three. He's always been a center two when he needs to be, but mainly third line center. So like I I don't know. They got a lot of center depth problems, and Pacioretty hasn't found chemistry with anybody to make it work. He had Desharnais last year that he kind of fit with, and Desharnais been absolute garbage too. So
Yeah, you can't put it all on Gallagher, and he's too young, and Galchenyuk as well. But they need to play him more. So I don't know what's going on there.
yeah,
They're trying.
rough.
I know they're trying to fit him in a good center role, but why not trying him on the second line center at least? I don't know.
Yeah,
A lot of question marks with that team right now, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they lose a couple more games. I wouldn't be surprised Terrian's gone. I wouldn't be surprised, but
no, not at
all right. Well, that's it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to be team isoing Philadelphia Flyers. We've got Saturday's picks, so we'll see you then.
Bye.